lawsuit filed overnight blames gun manufacturers and dealers for the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. In October 2017, a gunman opened fire on an outdoor concert in Las Vegas. 58 people were killed and nearly 500 others were wounded. Among those killed, 31-year-old Carrie Parsons. Now only on CBS This Morning, her parents explain why they're suing the makers of the military-style rifles used in the attack and the dealers who sold them.
She was on top of the world. She'd just gotten engaged, so excited. Her business career was going great. I mean, she was so excited.
In the fall of 2017, life was good for Carrie Parsons, and she flew to Las Vegas to celebrate.
I had been given my assignments, my Mother of the Bride assignments, that I was supposed to start looking at venues.
But while Carrie's excited parents, Jim and Anne Marie, planned for a wedding back home,
There you go.
a gunman opened fire on their daughter and thousands of others at a country music festival.
When did you get the final word that she had not just been shot but had been killed?
So that first day, when I got there, they had us in a room, and then finally I saw them coming down the hall, and it was an army of doctors, and at the very back was a person in a clerical collar, and they didn't even have to tell me.
How is it possible for a shooter 32 stories up and hundreds of yards away to hit your daughter fatally?
It's the power of these weapons.
Yeah, these are weapons of war. So you don't have to be a marksman to shoot 300 or 600 yards. He didn't target anyone. He just mowed them down. They didn't have a chance.
As the Parsons later learned, the shooter had used a dozen different rifles, each one modified to simulate a machine gun with automatic fire, and allowing him to shoot more than a bullet a second. But machine guns have been banned since 1986, and a lawsuit the couple filed last night claims a gun that's easily modifiable to fire automatically is a machine gun, therefore flatly illegal under federal and state law. The suit names 16 defendants, the makers and sellers of guns used in the Las Vegas massacre. We contacted the defendants, and the companies either declined to comment or did not respond.
Well, the problem is you're selling a machine gun by law.
Josh Koskoff is the couple's lawyer.
Well, you've heard the phrase, I'm sure. Guns don't kill people, people kill people.
Oh, that sounds pretty catchy. My answer is people kill people with guns. The amount of firepower that rained down on those concert goers on October 1st could not have occurred without an AR-15, modified by a bump stock to boot, because it just dumped out so much lead for such a prolonged period of time. That kind of firepower is what killed Carrie.
No one has ever won a lawsuit of this kind against a gun manufacturer, in part because a 2005 law protects the manufacturers against lawsuits when their product is used for criminal purposes. But for the Parsons, this is about their daughter, justice for her, and hitting the gun industry where it hurts.
What do you think motivates these gun manufacturers?
Profit. Money, 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 profits.
They live in this country too, though. They have children. They go to church. They go to sports games.
How are they going to reconcile when they're 85 years old and on their deathbeds, all the devastation that they have helped happen to families?
That's Anne Marie Parsons there. Now, the Parsons say, and this is interesting, they don't blame the shooter in their daughter's death because to them there will always be unstable people. It's the military-style weapons that make mass shooters so deadly. They also say they do support gun ownership in this country, just not the ownership of AR-15-style rifles.
Funny, you were saying this is the same lawyer who took a case to the Connecticut Supreme Court, which they actually won.
Correct, which means the case can go forward. The gun manufacturers have very broad immunity from lawsuits, but there are these narrow exceptions. This lawyer has already found one, and he believes with this research looking into the statutes around machine guns, he may have found another.
But you hear from the Parsons family, particularly the mother, where she paints a scene of people coming to give her the news that she knows is coming that you don't want to hear. Yeah. And the fact that they make that you can fire and get hit from so far away, I didn't realize that, and was hit in the shoulder.
Only in the
Not
shoulder.
Even
one bullet to the shoulder. She was hundreds of yards away. Yeah. She actually made it to an ambulance. They still couldn't save her. That's how deadly these weapons are. And the gunman, he modified the weapon so he was able to, even with reloading and even with switching guns, shoot more than 1,000 rounds in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I was at that scene. You don't think it's possible, but it was sort of, there were so many people on that field for that concert that night. It was almost shooting fish in a barrel. barrel, but you have to do it with a.
And you want to talk about families. A few years ago, and I'll never forget this, I spoke to the children of the man who invented the AR-15 rifle, intended it for military purposes. They said their father would be sickened and horrified by the fact it's in civilian hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, they raised some very interesting questions. Thank you, Tony.